Hey, it's Soul to fill you in on what is going on this week in the world of Warcraft. There's kind of a lot, so let's get right to it, starting with some hotfix highlights. Okay, that's not really a thing. I just wanted to use up some excess energy I have here. But anyway, big buffs on the raid side of things. Many may know by now that the Unholy set bonus from Domination Shards is really good. So in response to that, the Blood Link set bonus is going to be buffed by a whopping 20%, while the Frost bonus will be buffed by a even more whopping 45%. Now, I'm no theory crafter, but this is not going to make people feel bad for investing into their Unholy sets. They're going to be just fine. But for people who want to consider messing around with a different set, it's not going to feel nearly as bad. Personally, I'm going to go all in with the Bloodlink bonus, like I've been talking about a lot. Like, imagine if all the tanks and healers were using this particular bonus. It's like almost adding both a DPS and a healer for some steady throughput. I'm pretty excited to see how stupid broken all of these bonuses will get as people start maxing out their shards. Also, in response to feedback, Blizzard has added a vendor for us to spend our excess anima on. You can find it over at the Great Vault. Many of you are definitely feeling this on your more progressed characters, like gaining more anima than you can even spend. Well, now we can put our anima where our mouths are and use it for some rare resources, maybe turn that into some gold. Now let's get to what's up this week. As always, be sure to pick up your anima quest over at your sanctum first. Then head over to Korthia, pick up all the things that is the quests, and get to work. Hopefully you've been scoring a few pieces of your Covenant cosmetic sets too. So knock out the Korthia dailies, chase them squirrels, those distractions, then visit the mall for a Covenant assault and the Tormentors of Torghast event if it's up. Then head back down for the world boss. Take care of the world quest there and return to Korthia for the win. This week's PvP brawl is supposed to be Gravity Labs, but it's getting a little aggravating that I say it's going to be like this brawl, but then suddenly Blizzard decides, nope, I'm going to change it up. It's going to be something else instead. So I'll just word it that way. It says it's going to be Gravity Lab, so at least I wasn't wrong about that. The Darkmoon Fair is in town, and definitely consider parking here when you're queuing up for time walking, because yeah, we also get Burning Crusade time walking, so give yourself that carousel buff and hang around while queuing up so you can get some extra XP or some extra rep. Be sure to have your Heart of Azeroth equipped for a big boost as well. Using the Vision of Perfection essence is an easy favorite. Oh, and be sure you start the time walking quest if you're at max level. That's going to score you a piece of normal raid sanctum gear and hopefully something with a domination socket. With Burning Crusade time walking comes Black Temple time walking, which drops item level 226 gear. Those of you who are a bit green to raiding or are just looking for an adventure might find some useful upgrades here. In Torghast Town, the knowledge cap does in fact seem to be locked at a rate of 360 additional knowledge per week, and that's great. It just means that in a few more weeks, we'll be able to reach the bottom and get all nasty with our Torghast runs, maybe even visit the Adamant Vault on a regular basis. Over in Mythic Plus World, the guesstimated affixes this week are going to be Tyrannical, Sanguine, and Explosive. Maybe. That's because we've seen every other affix combination, and well, this is all that's left. So if it turns out the combination is something else, I will no longer have a sense of what's real anymore. But if this is in fact a combo, it's not so bad, but it's not so great either. Big pulls means that you've got to be that much more careful about Sanguine, with some packs being a pain if they include casters or ranged. That, on top of more explosive spawning, won't do you any favors. Now though, let's visit Covenant Land, because this week we hit a milestone, a big one, because this marks the week that players will reach the bottom of all 3 of their Soulbind trees. Is this exciting? I don't know, but let's talk about this. The Renown cap is going up to 57. Renown 55 will cap off 1 of your Soulbind's trees. Renown 56 will get you another chapter campaign, and this one might be a doozy, trust me. You also get a nice little cosmetic upgrade thing for your Pepe pet if you have one. Completing the campaign quest will get you to Renown 57 and will let you top off your 3rd and final Soulbind. So let's take a look at all the new traits that we've unlocked this week. Starting with our Kyrian buddies, Pelagos gets Newfound Resolve. A thing will appear nearby that you have to look at within 10 seconds. Doing so will give you a very strong 10% main stat and stamina buff for 15 seconds. So you can sort of time it in a way where you can wait until you can know that you can pull off a string of abilities, then look at the doubt, and then boom, you get 15 seconds to get nasty. This will likely be harder to pull off for melee or in cases where you're tightly grouped though, so be careful. Mechanicos gets the Effusive Anima Accelerator. What this does is make your Covenant ability, whatever it is, detonate an AoE onto nearby enemies. Each enemy hit with a maximum target of 5 will reduce the cooldown of your Covenant ability by a few seconds. So, for example, my Divine Toll can have its cooldown reduced from 1 minute down to 40 seconds, which is really, really sweet. I've been waiting for this one. But now let's check out Merileth from the Necrolords. Kevin's Oozling spawns a support ad that debuffs enemies and creates an absorb shield on your allies, and yourself too. It's very passive, you could say it's a little bit boring, but it's hard to complain over a straight buff in your throughput. Bonesmith Hairmere gives players mnemonic equipment. It gives you this kind of execute mechanic that starts at 35%, so boo Sylvanas. This effectively adds 3% to your damage, which, if nothing else, is at least easy to understand. Healing an ally gives a weaker version of this buff for a few seconds, which translates to a 1% execute for up to 2 players. Individually, this sounds really poop, like wow, 3% here, 2% there, mothers hide your daughters. But in a group setting, this makes the execute phase all the more effective with everything else that's going on. The Race to World First might not have ended earlier because of how this buff works with the execute thing, but if there was an execute phase, yeah, it could have. And now for the Night Fade. Naya gives Bonded Hearts. It interacts directly with the base trait Grove Invigoration, meaning that when you gain a stack, you heal allies for a small amount. It also makes the buff from Grove Invigoration stronger for a few seconds if you heal people from a different covenant, so this is not a trait that you're going to notice in solo content, unfortunately. Corraine gets Wild Hunt Stratagem, which seems complicated at first read. It activates when Wild Hunt tactics go off, so when you attack with high health or heal low health targets. While this is active, when you enter an execute phase with a mob or heal a target that's at higher health, you deal increased damage or healing to said target for 10 seconds. So the way that I'm looking at this trait, it's most effective in solo and dungeon content when you're constantly engaged with mobs. It's mostly passive, as long as you're making sure to switch between higher health and lower health targets, or I guess you can just AoE all of them down and you'll see some benefit. And now for the Venthyr. Nadia gets Fatal Flaw, where when Euphoria ends, and that's the main trait for Nadia, you get a straight 20% increase to your crit strike chance or versatility, to which I find the versatility one really nice, while the crit strike does have certain diminishing returns depending on your spec, of course. Draven, meanwhile, gets Battlefield Presence, which increases your healing, your damage, and your damage reduction by up to 3%. It's very passive, it's kind of situational, but it's at least easier to understand. And that should be it for what goes on this week, probably. It's usually around this time when developers start kind of mentioning or hinting about an upcoming patch, in this case, a patch 9.1.5. Now would be a fine time to distract players from the, inconveniences of reality, but somehow I don't think that'll be the case, whether it's because they never were ready because of other delays, or they want to focus on some in-house problems first. Regardless, I'm going to do my best to keep you informed on the what's going ons in the World of Warcraft, so stay tuned for the recap later this week. Be sure to like the video if this was helpful, subscribe for more of this and all things Warcraft, and I will see you later. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy, and stay breezy.